Welcome to Apple Color StyleWriter Pro Video Service Training. The Apple Color StyleWriter Pro prints high-quality color graphics and text quietly on plain paper. It has an energy conservation feature which turns off most of the printer's functions when they aren't needed and turns them on when they are. The printer uses Color Share software, allowing you to share the printer with anyone on your Apple Talk network, and Color Sync software, ensuring that when you print from applications that support Color Sync, the color you see on your monitor is the same color that prints on the printer. This is the power on-off switch and the green power on LED which glows while the printer is powered on. This is the paper jam LED. This orange LED lights when there is a paper jam or when the printer is out of paper. Here is the paper delivery tray and extension. This is the printer cover. Lift up on the cover to open it. Opening this cover lets you see the service LEDs, which are discussed later in this program, as well as the power on-off LED and switch, and the paper jam LED, which are also visible when the top cover is closed. This is the carriage unit. The carriage unit contains the print head, the ink cartridges, and the paper thickness lever. Move this lever to the backward position to print envelopes and to the forward position to print sheets of paper. The print selector on the cut sheet feeder, discussed later, must also be set to the correct position. During printing, the carriage unit moves back and forth across the page. Warning: unless instructed to do so by service source, never attempt to move the carriage unit by hand or you may damage the printer. Here are the procedures used to install the print head. Open the print head lid on the printer by firmly squeezing the two side tabs and then lifting the lid open. Carefully pick up the print head. If the print head is new, be sure to peel the tape off the print head. You may safely touch the black plastic, but be careful not to touch any other part of the print head. Or the contacts on the print head lid. Angle the print head into the printer. The green metal plate is on the top, and the 4 ink ports face the front of the printer. Then press down firmly to close the print head lid until you feel 2 clicks. When it's completely closed, you won't be able to open the lid without squeezing its side tabs. If the lid is not closed completely, a print head error message will be displayed and the printer won't print. When a print head is replaced or reinstalled, the print head alignment procedure must be performed. Refer to the Color StyleWriter Pro manual on Apple Service Source for more information. The Apple Color StyleWriter Pro printer uses 4 numbered and color-coded ink cartridges: black number 1, cyan number 2, magenta number 3, and yellow number 4. Be careful to put each color in the appropriate slot on the carriage. You can damage the print head by mixing up the colors. Don't let anything touch this opening. Locate the correct slot for the ink cartridge. Make sure the number and color on the cartridge matches the number and color on the slot. Then slide in the cartridge until it snaps into place. Repeat these steps for the other colors until all 4 cartridges are in place. Check one last time to make sure you've installed all 4 cartridges and that each is in the right place. Both the print head and ink cartridges are user installable. Here is the cut sheet feeder. The cut sheet feeder holds up to 100 sheets of 20-pound paper and feeds the paper automatically into the printer. You can load many sizes of paper and other media into the cut sheet feeder. Use this print selector to adjust for the thickness of the printing material. Move the selector to the forward position for printing on envelopes and thicker materials, and to the backward position for printing on sheet materials. Be sure to also set the print selector on the carriage unit to the correct printing position. Here is the power cable connector. Important, the only way to disconnect power completely is to unplug the power cord. Here is the serial peripheral 8 cable connector to connect the printer to the host computer. Now, we're removing the cover set to let us identify the internal components. This is the power supply. And here, under a clear plastic cover, is the power supply's fuse. This fuse is a replaceable part. This is the controller board. The controller board receives and processes data and commands from the host computer and controls all the printer's functions. The controller board contains the service LEDs, the power on-off LED and switch, the paper jam LED, and the select switch. The select switch and the service LEDs are discussed later in this program. Here are the pickup rollers. After the carriage is moved to the home position, the pickup rollers pick up a sheet of paper and feed it to the feeder roller. This is the feeder roller, located on the platen and roller assembly. When printing starts, the feeder roller moves the paper forward and then holds it for alignment. The pickup and feeder rollers are driven by the paper feed motor. And these are the eject rollers, which guide the printed page to the paper delivery tray. Also located on the platen and roller assembly, the eject rollers are driven by these idler rollers, which in turn are driven by the feeder roller. Here is the ink absorber cover, and below this cover are the ink absorber plates. Located on the base of the printer, the absorber plates hold ink released from the purge unit during cleaning and flushing of the printhead. Here are the carriage motor, and carriage belt. The motor moves the carriage belt, which in turn moves the carriage across the paper. The controller board communicates with the carriage through the carriage ribbon cable. Warning, the carriage has an adjusting plate and screw on the right side and on the left side of the printer. Moving these plates and screws would change the head gap, the distance between the printhead and the paper. The head gap is set at the factory to ensure good print quality. If the position of the plates is changed, the printer must be replaced. This is the purge unit. The purge unit is driven by the purge motor, which is located on the bottom of the unit. The purge unit wipes, caps, cleans, and flushes the print nozzles to prevent them from clogging. In normal use, when no printing has occurred for 60 seconds, the purge unit wipes and then caps the print nozzles. The capping function pushes a rubber cap against the faceplate of the printhead to prevent the ink from drying or leaking. The purge unit also performs a more thorough cleaning when the printhead is replaced or when the printer has been powered off for more than 54 hours. The printer contains 5 sensors. This is the sensor board. Here is the pickup rollers sensor. The pickup rollers sensor is a photo interrupter that detects the initial position of the pickup rollers in the cut sheet feeder. This is the paper sensor. The paper sensor consists of a photo interrupter and a sensor flag. When paper is loaded into the printer, it moves the sensor flag, which trips the photo interrupter, indicating the presence of paper. Here is the home position sensor. The home position sensor also consists of a photo interrupter and a sensor flag. The sensor flag is located on the end of the carriage unit. When the carriage moves to the home position, the sensor flag trips the photo interrupter. The purge unit also contains a photo interrupter located under the unit. The sensor detects the position of the purge unit pump cam. The purge unit pump forces ink through the printhead to clean and flush the printhead nozzles. The internal temperature sensor is the last component to be identified. The internal temperature sensor is a thermistor mounted on the carriage board. It detects the internal temperature of the printer and the printhead. This information is used by the controller board to regulate the timing of ink ejection and printhead capping. Each time the printer is powered on, it takes some time to prepare itself for printing. The green power-on LED flashes until the printer is fully prepared. If the printer has been powered off for more than 54 hours, or if this is the first time the printer has been powered on, this preparation process can take up to 5 minutes. Normally, it takes less than a minute. When the power-on LED glows steadily, the printer is ready to print. During printer preparation, the printhead nozzles are super cleaned or flushed with fresh ink, wiped, and refilled with ink. Once the printer is powered on, there's no need to turn it off manually except to service or move it, because the printer automatically changes to the power conservation or sleep mode when it is idle for about 60 seconds. When the printer is about to change to sleep mode, or if you turn off the printer manually, it automatically moves the printhead to the right, where it wipes the nozzles and then caps them to keep the ink cartridges from drying out. When the wiping and capping are completed after switching off the printer, the green power-on LED goes off. Warning: do not disconnect the power cable or otherwise cut power to the printer before this wiping and capping process is complete. If you do, the nozzles may not be properly capped, and that would cause the ink to dry, the nozzles to clog, and ink to leak into the printer. Please stop the tape. This section of Part 1 of the tape gives you an opportunity to practice identifying printer components. When a component is presented, name the component to yourself. In a few seconds, the name of the component will be stated. Then, compare your answer to the one given. Here's the first component. This is the carriage motor. These are the pickup rollers. This is the printhead. This is the paper feed motor. These are the eject rollers. This is the carriage belt. These are the service LEDs, power on-off LED and switch, paper jam LED, and the select switch. This is the power supply. This is the controller board. This is the purge unit. This is the pickup roller sensor. This is the paper sensor. This is the ink absorber cover, and below the cover are the ink absorber plates. This is the feeder roller. If you incorrectly identified any of these components, take a few minutes to review this quiz before continuing. This concludes Part 1. Please stop the tape. This part of the tape demonstrates how to take apart and reassemble the Color StyleWriter Pro. When taking apart the printer, be sure to remove the power cable before starting. Use an ESD-safe workstation and do not use magnetized tools near the linear encoder. Avoid leaking or splashing ink. The ink used by the printer is conductive and could cause ESD damage to components if it spilled. And carefully follow the take-apart and reassembly procedures and precautions presented on Service Source. If you haven't reviewed Service Source yet, stop the tape now and carefully review it before continuing. Remove the covers. Raise the top cover. Gently press in the two hinges and lift off the top cover. Place the paper print selector in the forward position. Release the two front latches and remove the inner cover. Lay the printer on its front side. Carefully stretch the left, then the right side to release the side latches. Using a flat blade screwdriver, lift up on the main cover and remove it from the printer. Stand the printer upright. Remove the print head and ink cartridges. Push in both latches and open the print head cover. Be careful not to touch the contacts on the inside top of the cover. These contacts are connected to the controller board by the carriage ribbon cable. Touching the contacts could cause ESD damage to the controller board, even if you are wearing a wrist strap. Gently lift up and pull out the ink cartridges. Place each ink cartridge on a piece of paper. Grasp the print head and gently remove it from the printer. To prevent the ink ports from clogging, do not touch or wipe them. Place the print head carefully on a piece of paper. Warning: do not rest the print head on its nozzles or you may damage it, and don't leave the print head uncapped for more than 12 hours as the ink will dry and clog the print nozzles. Remove the controller board. Disconnect connectors JLFM1 and JPGM1 from the controller board. These two connectors are harder to remove than the other connectors. Carefully pull on these connectors with your fingers until they disconnect. Do not use pliers to remove the connectors, as pliers will cause the fragile connectors to break. Disconnect the other connectors. Using a Phillips screwdriver, remove the 4 mounting screws. And remove the controller board. Remove the cut sheet feeder. Using a Phillips screwdriver, remove the 2 mounting screws. Place the print selector in the backward position and remove the wires from the catch. Press in the 2 latches. And remove the sheet feeder from the printer. Remove the power supply. Release the wires from the holding tabs. Using a Phillips screwdriver, loosen the 2 mounting screws. And remove the power supply board. Remove the sensor board. Push out the 2 mounting latches and remove the sensor board. Remove the carriage unit. Advance the locking gear and disengage the carriage. Then move the carriage out of the home position. Using a Phillips screwdriver, loosen the carriage belt tensioner. Remove the carriage belt. Release the tabs holding the ferrite core and remove the core. Release the tabs holding the plastic mounting bracket and remove the bracket. Using a Phillips screwdriver, remove the shield plate mounting screws. And remove the shield plate. Pull up the front of the carriage unit and release it from the front carriage rod. Using non-magnetized needle nose pliers, remove the stopper on top of the left scale holder. Press in the latches on the scale holder and remove it from the printer. Remove the shaft spring from the carriage rod. Being careful not to bend the linear encoder, pull the carriage to the right and carefully remove the carriage rod and linear encoder from the left wall of the chassis. Gradually pull forward on the carriage unit and remove the carriage rod from the right side of the chassis. This is the linear encoder. Warning, be careful not to bend the encoder nor use magnetic tools near it. Very carefully, using non-magnetized needle nose pliers, remove the flexible cable from the carriage board and the linear encoder. Carefully release the latch and remove the carriage board and shield. The latch is very fragile. Remove the carriage belt holder and belt. Open the carriage unit and remove the ribbon cable holder and remove the ribbon cable. Remove the carriage motor. Using a Phillips screwdriver, remove the two mounting screws. And remove the carriage motor. Remove the paper feed motor. Release the two tabs securing the printer chassis to the base. and lift out the printer chassis. Using a Phillips screwdriver, remove the two mounting screws. And remove the paper feed motor, being careful not to lose the gear. Remove the platen and roller assembly. Using a jeweler's screwdriver, break off the ends of the bushing. Carefully remove the spring. Release the plastic pin on the right side of the platen and roller assembly. And slide the assembly out. Remove the washer. Release the two latches and remove the spur holder unit. Pull up and remove the feeder roller. Remove the purge unit. Using a Phillips screwdriver, remove the mounting screw. Then slightly twist and remove the purge unit. This completes disassembly of the printer. Begin reassembly. Replace the purge unit. Position the purge unit in the printer. Then replace the mounting screw using a Phillips screwdriver. Replace the platen and roller assembly. Position the feeder roller in the platen and roller assembly. Position the spur holder unit on the platen and roller assembly and connect the two latches. Replace the washer. Position the platen and roller assembly in the left side of the printer frame. And then the right side. Replace the spring. Then, replace the bushing by snapping it onto the end of the carriage rod. Replace the paper feed motor. Position the paper feed motor in the printer and replace the two mounting screws using a Phillips screwdriver. Position the printer frame on the printer base and secure the two latches. Replace the carriage motor. Position the carriage motor in the printer and replace the two mounting screws using a Phillips screwdriver. Replace the carriage unit. Replace the ribbon cable and ribbon cable holder in the carriage unit. Be careful not to cover the linear encoder ribbon cable. Replace the carriage belt and carriage belt holder. Position the carriage board and shield. And very carefully secure the latches. Connect the flexible cables to the carriage board. Gently position the carriage rod and linear encoder in the right side of the printer. Be sure the carriage belt is clear of the rod and linear encoder. Now, gently position the carriage rod and linear encoder in the left side of the printer. Make sure that the carriage rod and linear encoder are properly positioned. Replace the right scale holder and shaft clip on the carriage rod. Position the left scale holder and secure the latches. Replace the stopper on top of the left scale holder. Position the carriage unit on the carriage rod. Replace the carriage belt. Position and tighten the carriage belt tensioner. Replace the shield plate and the 3 shield plate mounting screws. Replace the plastic mounting bracket. Replace the ferrite core. Then replace the wires and the holding tabs. Finally, move the carriage to the home position and cap the printhead by turning the locking gear. Replace the sensor board. Replace the sensor board by positioning the board and securing the 2 mounting latches. Replace the power supply. Position the power supply in the printer and tighten the 2 mounting screws using a Phillips screwdriver. Then replace the wires and the holding tabs. Be sure the wires are secure. These wires tend to slip out of the tabs if they're not carefully secured. Replace the cut sheet feeder. Position the sheet feeder in the printer. Replace the wires. Secure the 2 latches. Then replace the 2 mounting screws using a Phillips screwdriver. Replace the controller board. Position the controller board in the printer and replace the 4 mounting screws using a Phillips screwdriver. Reconnect ribbon cables JRC1 and JRC2 to the controller board. Then reconnect the 7 remaining connectors to the controller board. Replace the printhead and ink cartridges. Note, if you're installing a new printhead, remember to remove the tape that covers the print nozzles. Gently place the printhead in the printer. Close the printhead cover, securing both latches. Then replace each of the 4 ink cartridges. Replace the covers. Lay the printer on its front side. Position the main cover and secure the rear and side latches. Stand the printer upright. With the print selector in the forward position, replace the inner cover by securing the 2 front latches. Place the print selector in the backward position. Finally, position the 2 hinges and attach the top cover. Several software-based adjustments must be performed when installing a new controller board, power supply, carriage board, or ink absorber plates. These adjustments are not required when reinstalling the same component, but only when installing a new one. Required adjustments include one or more of the following. 1. Set the current room temperature. 2. Set the black printhead resistance value. 3. Set the number of years since the ink absorber plates were last replaced. To perform these adjustments, you must connect the printer to a Macintosh. Place the printer in the E² PROM download mode and use the Color StyleWriter Pro utility program. The utility program downloads the adjustment settings to an E² PROM on the printer's controller board. In order for the controller board to receive the information, you must put the printer in the E² PROM download mode before using the utility program. Refer to the Color StyleWriter Pro manual on Apple Service Source for more information. The procedures for putting the printer in E² PROM download mode, as well as the procedures for establishing the black printhead resistance value, one of 3 required adjustments, are demonstrated next. With the covers removed, first, place the printer in service mode by plugging in the printer power cord while holding down the power on-off and select switches. Continue holding down the switches until the printer beeps. Then release them. Press the select switch 7 times to light the 3 LEDs in this pattern. When this LED pattern is established, press the power on-off switch to put the printer in E² PROM download mode. The printer is now ready to accept the required adjustments using the adjustment utility. One adjustment requires you to take a resistance reading of the black printhead. Determine resistance by placing the grounding probe of the multimeter on printhead connector number 35 and the positive probe on connector number 22. Note this reading and be ready to enter it when prompted by the adjustment utility program. Refer to the procedures in the Color StyleWriter Pro manual on Service Source for information on the remaining adjustments. This concludes Part 2. Please stop the tape. Follow these precautions when servicing the printer. As long as the printer is connected to AC power, certain circuits inside the printer are live. To protect yourself from shock, disconnect the AC cable before servicing the printer. If for any reason you must leave the AC power cord connected while servicing the printer, avoid touching the power supply and the controller board, except for the power on-off and select switch. If you find it necessary to transport the printer, even across the room, Follow all transporting procedures in Service Source. The Apple Color StyleWriter Pro uses an electrically conductive ink. If ink leaks, do not power on the printer. Follow the procedures on Service Source to clean up any spilled ink before applying power to the printer. The Apple Color StyleWriter Pro generates two types of troubleshooting diagnostic information. The first type of diagnostic information is the error messages displayed on the computer connected to the printer. Begin troubleshooting the printer by connecting it to a Macintosh computer and trying to print to display any error messages. Make sure that the Macintosh is using System 7 or higher and the Apple Color StyleWriter Pro printer driver. The second type of diagnostic information is the startup test page generated by the printer. Generate a startup test page by holding down the power on-off switch for 10 seconds when powering on the printer. When the printer is fully prepared to print, it generates a startup page. The page should look like this. At the bottom of the page are 4 color bars, the ROM version number and the page count. The printer is functioning properly when each of the 4 colors in the color bars is printed in a solid, even line. If the startup page doesn't look like this, or if the printer exhibits a mechanical malfunction while generating the page, note the symptom and refer to the Color StyleWriter Pro manual on Service Source for troubleshooting and repair procedures. While in the service mode, you can generate a number of other test pages and choose other special functions using the select and power on-off switches. On this test page, you can see flaws in the magenta and cyan test patterns, probably caused by clogged printhead nozzles. This problem could most likely be fixed by cleaning or purging the printhead. While troubleshooting, you may notice that one or more of the service LEDs are lighted. This indicates that one or more of the corresponding ink cartridges are empty or missing. Although helpful, don't rely on the LEDs for this purpose. An ink cartridge may empty before tripping the corresponding LED. Instead of depending on the LEDs, check that each ink cartridge has ink, is installed in the correct slot, and is properly seated in the carriage unit. Finally, check that the printhead is properly positioned in the carriage unit. If the lid is not closed completely, a printhead error message will be displayed and the printer won't print. If a new printhead has just been installed, double-check that the sealing tape has been removed. This concludes Part 3 and the tape. Please stop and rewind the tape.